Mary LaHammer here from Twin Cities PBS with Almanac, giving you the story behind the story. And this week I focused on Governor Tim Walz taking unilateral executive action. And part of that is because he could not build the bipartisan coalition necessary to agree to legislation in a special session specifically dealing with the issue of gun control. After you see the story, I'll talk to you more about the other executive action he took on the issue of fraud, which continues to really plague him and his administration. But first, we're going to talk about guns and how prescient this issue is here in Minnesota since June 14th and the assassination of former House Speaker Melissa Hortman and the shooting of State Senator John Hoffman. This has been weighing heavily on policymakers on both sides of the aisle, but I think Democrats more interested in specific gun control. Republicans put out their own plan having to deal with mental health and hardening schools and school safety. So the governor could not get agreement for special session, and he stood there in the room, a real heavy room. This is what I want to tell you about. I was in the room when the governor signed these two different executive orders, and there was a heaviness in the room, not only with the colleagues of Melissa Hortman there, but also parents from the Ascension School church shooting. Parents were there, and I did notice, just the feeling, the palpable feeling of the loss and the trauma in the room with all those folks joining the governor for his signing of these orders. At one point, I saw a couple of lawmakers. I saw Representative Greenman, who served with Melissa Hortman in the House, and I saw Senator Murphy, both of them kind of looking up and composing themselves off camera while the governor was talking about the colleague that they lost in Melissa Hortman. And the memorial is still there. I visit it pretty much every week when I'm up at the state capitol. Just outside the House chamber, you'll see in a moment the images of the memorial that continues to grow. People bring photos and flowers, and they sign a book there, and there's Post-it notes. And I see people from all over the world in all walks of life there honoring the life of Melissa Hortman, who was gunned down this summer. The other new addition, and if you go to the state capitol, and I urge everybody, it's a beautiful site and a wonderful place to visit. The new addition in the Minnesota State Capitol right now, every year there's a Christmas tree, and it's decorated with ornaments, and various lawmakers and officials gather for this Minnesota-grown tree. And one really unique feature this year on the tree is an ornament with Melissa Hortman's image in it. And she's almost looking upwards, like skywards to the heavens in this photo. It's really moving to see this ornament of her on this enormous tree that occupies the ground floor of the Capitol Rotunda. It rises way up, and you can see that view. And a lot of people, while I was there this week, were stopping and taking photos. It was kind of the place to visit, the memorial up there outside the House chamber, and then the ground floor rotunda Christmas tree with a special ornament. Only one lawmaker is on that tree, and that is Melissa Hortman. You can also, the other emotion you'll see just here in a moment is, frustration and anger from the governor over this. He swears a couple of times. We have a fairly testy exchange when I bring up what Republicans are saying about his efforts. Also, my colleague Eric Escala from Almanac asked the Senate Majority Leader if her caucus had the votes for gun control. We know there's a couple of rural members who are really in swing seats and not sure how they would vote on gun control. It's a hard issue for Minnesotans. We have all 201 lawmakers up, big year, the midterms coming up in 2026, which folks are thinking will be good for Democrats. Usually it's good for the party out of power in Washington. So all that emotion, all that layer in there, and let's take a look at the piece. As the memorial for former House Speaker Melissa Hortman remains at the Capitol and will stay during session, the issue of the gun violence that took her life continues to vex policymakers.
We're all victims of gun violence now in Minnesota, and the public has been saying it. They've been saying it since June 14th. They've been saying it since that horrific day at Annunciation. They continue to say it. Enough is enough.
Governor Walz could not get a coalition to address gun control or ban assault rifles in a special session, so he turned to executive orders establishing a statewide safety council to provide more data on gun violence and improve education on safe storage of weapons.
There's too damn many guns and the wrong types of guns on the street, and I don't want to hear how do you define assault weapon. I damn sure can assign what it is and describe what it is.
Governor, today the Republican Party chair already put out a statement saying the executive orders are a clear admission of weakness on your part, that weeks ago you promised a special session, but the effort collapsed because you couldn't get votes in your own party.
You're surprised by that, Mary? That statement? What a condemnation. What a weak, horrible thing. Come and say it in front of these parents. Mary, could you, for the record, state the name of the individual who decided to distract from this as we're talking about important things?
It was the Republican Party chair.
Yeah, what was
Alex
his name?
Plekich, yeah.
What's his name?
Alex Plekich, the
Okay.
Republican Party chair.
And that was his first thought in the midst of this, with parents and Minnesotans asking us. Okay. Make sure you spell his name right.
What happened to us on August 27th is not something we will ever be over. The aftermath is still incredibly raw. What we learned and what too many communities learn is that gun violence does not respect geography, faith, or politics.
Lawmakers from the Annunciation School Shooting District said this was personal.
After the Annunciation shooting, parents and students across the state said that we need to act on gun violence prevention, and the time is now. Since then, one side of this debate has stalled, changed the subject, or stayed silent.
To the Annunciation families in my community, to the parents and the kids and the staff who in your grief have found determination and courage, I am so inspired and proud of you.
My colleagues brought forward a number of proposals. The Republicans brought 0 proposals to those hearings.
The House is tied 67-67. The Republican leadership has made very clear that there isn't one vote in their caucus for getting weapons of war off the street.
The governor's talk of a special session has been a partisan political stunt from the beginning. Unfortunately, he has not been interested, or it's not acted as if he's interested in finding bipartisan solutions to the problem of school safety, the problem of public safety, the problem of mental health.
Republicans have felt strongly in their belief of a U.S. Supreme Court protecting gun rights.
You know who is one of the most pro-Second Amendment groups is the Supreme Court. They've ruled a number of times that it's an individual right, that it cannot be deprived through statute.
We are the murder gun capital of the planet because people have made the decision to protect gun manufacturers.
We're suing Glock right now for turning a blind eye and allowing.
We are taking a step towards safety and a step towards common sense.
The governor says gun control works, including extreme risk protection orders that Democrats passed.
It's time to start reporting that that is all bullshit. It does do something. It does make a difference.
The Republican Party chair also says with the DFL governor's slipping poll numbers following fraud scandals that Walz is resorting to executive orders which create more government bureaucracy.
This fraud has been perpetuated on your watch, and the whistleblowers who reach out to us within the department are terrified, and they feel that they've been retaliated against already.
We are aggressively suspending payments whenever our investigators see evidence of fraud.
No one has any tolerance for fraud.
The governor created a new position to address fraud, and the state extended a licensing pause to adult daycare settings. The announcement from the Minnesota Department of Human Services is the latest in a series of measures the agency says it's taking to tighten oversight and prevent and stop fraud.
DHS faced a lot of pressure from legislators and the public on not going fast enough and not getting enough providers licensed or approved or enrolled.
Meanwhile, the House Fraud Committee continues to question.
If there's something that seems concerning, we lift it up and we pass it over to our partners who do investigate any sort of criminal activity.
It is time for us to say enough is enough. I'm done. And it makes me sad to see what's happening to our state.
Now that you saw the second half of the stories about the other executive action that the governor took, and that was creating another officer to take a look at fraud in state government. This issue that does not go away continues to grow. There are reports now that fraud might not just be $1 billion, but could be in the billions, and a lot of federal attention and scrutiny. Multiple federal agencies now launching investigations in Minnesota, which the Democratic governor calls political, from the Republican president and his administration, but not going away. And what you saw there is the chair of the Fraud Committee, Republican Kristen Robbins, who, like Speaker Demuth, is also running for governor against the governor. So that definitely came up and is a layer to pay attention to. She is the only chair to have a solo gavel in the Minnesota House, which is tied. Every other committee has co-chairs, shared gavels, but Kristen Robbins, Republicans, has the only chairmanship solely to Republicans. And she, at the end of the hearing, presented what she called a web of interconnected assisted living companies, realtors, healthcare companies, various individuals with ties to the nutrition program, Feeding Our Future, that she said really raises red flags about the internal control at DHS and MDH, that's Health and Human Services Department. Chair Robbins issued a statement saying that she's astounded after the months of oversight, her hearings, and repeated assurances from the Department of Human Services that they've made significant progress. And there's an inspector general testifying and said definitely more progress. The state departments are shutting down funding from various fraudulent and maybe some programs and companies that they have concerns about. Assisted living, adult daycare services also now being talked about. So definitely some new information that she revealed in the piece. We didn't have time to show you all of it, but she had charts and graphics showing the same people, the same family members, the same companies participating in multiple state government programs where they have been just besieged by fraud. And so she says she really hopes that that will get looked at. What Democrats in the committee said, if you don't share this with us and Democrats, because it did come to fore there in committee that not all of the whistleblower reports are being shared with Democratic members of the committee, just Republicans. But the Republicans would say, hey, these are whistleblowers. They don't want to be retaliated against. And some of them have said they've been retaliated against for coming forward. So they're not sure they want to share with Democrats who have governor, who runs state government. But then the other point was, if you don't report it, and if DHS doesn't know about it, and if the Attorney General doesn't know about it, then it can't be stopped and it can't be prosecuted. But Republicans are saying, well, the U.S. Attorney has prosecuted a lot of these cases, like Feeding Our Future, and they are reporting to the U.S. Attorney on that. Dave Pinto, he is the DFL lead on the House Fraud Prevention Committee. He issued a statement saying that the hearing provided more proof that the committee is being run purely for political gain rather than to prevent fraud and hold wrongdoers accountable. After months of hearings, the committee has uncovered, he said, no fraud itself, and has voted on not one policy change or proposal. And Chair Robbins did admit in that of withholding information from Republicans' own whistleblower portal. So there's a website, but it is a House Republican website. But she was told she tried to make it a committee or a nonpartisan website, and she was not allowed to do that. So just still a lot of angst and partisanship and new accusations, unemployment insurance now being investigated at a federal level, of fraud. Again, all really hounding Governor Tim Walz. Many made quite a big deal out of a statement from Congresswoman Kelly Morrison this week saying that she will not be lieutenant governor with Governor Walz if he's on the ballot. And she used the word if, and many noted that. I have been told that the Congresswoman is being approached to run and replace Governor Walz. He's still staying on the ticket right now, but one of the top questions besides fraud is I get asked, is Walz going to stay on the ballot? Who would replace him? Before, the names were Klobuchar, Craig. Craig is running for U.S. Senate against Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and we are hearing at any moment too, Republican Michelle Tafoya could be getting into that U.S. Senate race. So the U.S. Senate race might be set. It's interesting that Kelly Morrison has been asked by folks if she would replace or run against Governor Walz, who is still facing a lot of challenges with this issue of fraud. We'll continue to cover it on Almanac and right here on Substack.